Angelo Tolbert, welcome to episode 12 of Between the Levees. Thank you for joining me this morning.
No problem, no problem.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Mobile, Alabama, born and raised.
What did your parents do for a living?
Well, my dad, he worked in he was a mailman, but at first he was in the service. He did Air Force. He was in the Air Force for 3 years, and then he swapped over and went into the Army, and he finished out his career in the Army, and then he went into being a letter carrier. He did that for 38 years. So he retired out the service and out the a letter carrier.
You know what he did in the military?
Yeah, he worked in the supply department, the supplies department, and then in the Air Force, he was actually going to school, studying to be a doctor. But all that changed. My mom got pregnant, and so he had to swap that up, and that's why he transferred from the Air Force into the Army. He just went in the supply department.
What did your mom do?
She's a stay-at-home mom. At first, she was doing hair, and then as we came along, she just decided to just be, stay-at-home mom.
How many kids did she have?
3. I'm the only boy. I'm the middle child. I have an older sister, and I have a younger sister.
What are they up to these days?
Let's see. My older sister, I think she works at a auto parts store, and my youngest sister, she's a security guard in some big tech firm in Washington, D.C.
No kidding. Oh, what was growing up in Mobile? What year were you born?
I was born in 1973.
How was your childhood?
Oh man, I couldn't. It was good, man. Ain't no complaints. My daddy provided everything that we needed, and then a couple of wants, but for the most part, man, I know ain't no complaints. No complaints at all.
What would you like to do growing up?
I was more of I was quiet, but I like sports like baseball, basketball, football, stuff like that. And then when my dad had time, he had a little bass boat, so he used to take all of us fishing and some of his little honey holes that he had, and we used to, as a family, go out and do that. Sometimes we'd go down to Dolphin Island on a Friday evening when he got off from work, and then we would go down there. We wouldn't come back home until late Sunday. Spend the weekend down there just fishing on the beach, enjoying ourselves.
Sure. Good for you. Were you drawn to anything academically in school or anything? Any certain subjects?
Oh no. I just went to school, did my little thing, and came on back home. There, I didn't have a favorite study there.
Yeah. When did you start working? Just in general.
My first job was cutting grass.
Okay.
It was a guy named Mr. Matthews, and I was around 13, and that was my first ever job there. And he used to come by the house, pick me up about 5:30 in the morning. We would go down Navico, and a bunch of wealthy people down there. He cut their grass early in the morning, and he would come and pick me up, and he have it already cut, man, and I go out there and rake everything up and put it in bags, and we'll just go from yard to yard, man. He was a fair guy, He worked. That's all he knew was work, and more work. He didn't have no kids. He had like 15 dogs. I guess he considered them as his kids. But yeah, that was my first job I ever had there.
Well, what did you do after high school? How did you end up getting into towboating?
That's funny. After high school, I had a couple of restaurant jobs, and I asked my cousin, because my cousin he works on ships, and so he works in the stewardess department, and I was just asking him, and he kind of told me how to get my passport. So I got my passport and all that stuff together while I was had these little in and out jobs there. I got everything lined up, and when I was finna graduate, I called up to Powder Point, Maryland, where the school was at for trying to train to get on the ship. And the guy who I was talking to, he was telling me that he can get me into school, but it'll be a 3-year wait. And I was like, man, I ain't trying to wait that long. And so he told me that if I sent him $3,000, he could put me ahead of a bunch of people. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do that.
Right.
I didn't know him from, Adam's apple. So I didn't do that at all. So I had some ins and out jobs, and then finally one day I was reading a ad in the newspaper about this company. They were hiring people to no, they was getting people jobs on boats. And so my first boat job was actually, I ain't gonna put the company out there, but it was a supply boat company out of Golden Meadows, Louisiana. And the boat I was on was in the shipyard because I didn't work there, but I think it was maybe 9 months.
All right.
And the first 9 months, the boat was in the yard. So I really, they had did a major overhaul on it. From the hull all the way up to the top of the wheelhouse, the engine room. They changed out all the fuel tanks and water tanks. And I mean, they spent some money on it. And so I was in the shipyard one day and I was asking the guy, one of the welders, hey man, because it was all right money back then, but the people who got me the job, they was really, I had to pay them back first. It was like more like they was getting probably 90% of my check. So once I paid them, then the money, I would start eventually seeing a little bit of my money. But
what year was this, and how old were you?
I was 21, 22, I think. And this was back in 90, I want to say 94.
All right.
94. Yeah, back in, no, 95, because I started with Orsoff in 96. So yeah, later part of 95. And so I was talking to a guy in the shipyard and he was like, if you really want to make some money, he didn't call them towboats, he called them push boats. He said, you go over there. And so I was just, after I got home, I was reading in the newspaper and just looking on the maritime jobs, and I seen one with Medley. And I've been with the tugboat companies ever since 96. When I started out with Midland / Orsoff. That was in Mobile, Alabama. And we was running from Mobile to Pensacola or Mobile to Panama City. That's when the coal industry was booming real heavy back then. And that was back in February 6th of 1996. That's when I started.
Tell me about the first time you stepped on deck.
Oh man, it was nerve-wracking, but also kind of exciting. My mate, his name was Robert Dunaway. He was actually from Mobile. I actually went to school with him, but he had dropped out, and I wonder what happened to him. And come to find out, first boat I ever rode was with him. It was the motor vessel Zoe. I caught a flight from Mobile, Alabama, and we flew to Houston. And they got us a rental car from Houston, and we had to drive from Houston to Port Comfort. And so he was just telling me the ins and outs before we got to the boat. And once we got to the boat, it was, like I said, it was nerve-wracking, but exciting at the same time. And them first couple of nights, man, I was like, what I got myself into. But as the trip went on, I got comfortable. It's new. I didn't know what I was doing. It seemed kind of, I ain't never been away from home like that. So, but at the same time, it was kind of, like I say, exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time. But for the most part, it was, that first trip was like, all right. Then the second trip, it was, as the trip, as I kept coming back, the trips, they got, better and better. And the job, it got, easier and easier because, really just doing the same thing over and over again.
And were you, when you got on board, were y'all standing by loading something in Point Comfort, or were y'all ready to go as soon as you got on?
That's the funny thing. No, when I got on, we settled in Port Comfort for a week. They was waiting for a part to come back for the loader, and it had to come from Japan. So it took about a week for that part to come back for the loader from Japan. So it was like I said, it was kind of nerve wracking but exciting at the same time, because once they got going, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I was standing out there. He just told me, stand out there and man the line while the boat was shoved into his headline on the side of the barge. Because out there, when they load the barges in Port Comfort, you have to actually manually move the barge while the boat is shoving into his headline. You have to actually stand out there and feed the slack into the line, because the loader out there, the arm, it only moves back and forth. It don't move side to side. So
Gotcha.
yeah, we was waiting to have some empties to get loaded there.
What was the onboarding or training process to get on that boat?
Oh, it was a lot different from England. They with Midland, it was more of a, do it this way, stay out of the line of fire. But safety was a like a priority, but not like a priority, if you kind of know what I mean.
Yeah.
England, they preach real big about being safe, but with Midland, it was kind of different. It's, I guess, when it's run by investors, people, they out to make money, but when Ingram is family owned, so it's kind of different. You know what I mean? So you can see the difference between Ingram and Midland. But for the most part, you try to stay out of harm's way, either
Sure.
which way you
Sure.
go there.
And then what were y'all shoving? What were y'all pushing once y'all got underway?
We had 6 loads. It was 6 loads going, 6 empties coming back from Port Comfort all the way to Zito, Algiers. And we would drop off at Zito, Algiers, and pick up 6 empties out of Zito, Algiers, and go back through Algiers route, and go all the way to either Port Comfort or Brownsville, Texas.
What was it like coming through Algiers Lock for the first time?
That was a learning experience. Like I said, I ain't, never been on a boat before. It was kind of really nerve wracking a little bit, but at the same time, like I said, I was kind of anxious to try to, learn what I was doing. First time I went through, it was snakes on the long wall, so that kind of had me jittery a little bit, kind of
Yeah.
scared to, touch the line, because sometimes the guy was telling me, Robert was telling me, that if you leave it on there, the snakes, they'll actually crawl on there. You have to wait till they get off, or he'll have like a stick in his hand and pop them off. But I wasn't gonna do that. That was my first trip, so I was scared. I don't like snakes, so
Yeah.
but yeah. And then you have to watch your line, because if you don't, it'll fall down, and then now you got the lock man. He got to raise the chamber back up. Then you have to put slack in your line. Then you have to raise it back down. So yeah, it was nerve wracking, but a learning experience at the same time.
What was it like coming into the Mississippi for the first time versus that canal?
Ooh, man, I was like, I never knew it existed, to be honest with you. You hear stuff, but you really just don't, pay attention to it. I couldn't believe, the ships and the traffic, and just all, everything going on. I couldn't believe that it even existed, man. It was like a whole nother world to me. I
Right.
was like, wow, I don't know, how do they manage all this stuff? You got all this, all these boats going and coming, and you got the cruise ships coming, stuff like that. So I was like, man, they gonna hit one another, like I said, my first time on a boat. So I didn't know how he was gonna manage traffic. But as time went on, I kind of, started going to the wheelhouse and sitting up there listening and paying attention and seeing how they do things, and it all started clicking.
Well, obviously you're in the wheelhouse now. What was your journey from deck to wheelhouse?
Oh man, that was that was an experience there, buddy. A learning experience, to be honest with you. But anything, just like in life, your do's and your don'ts. But I had a lot of people that helped me. My wife, especially, she put the fire under my ass, helped me get there. You know, she was always pushing me, pushing me, pushing me. And so we finally made it there. But yeah, it was a journey, man. But like I say, it was a lesson to be learned.
When did you start steering?
I actually started steering before I got my license. That was with a guy named Rodney Norris. May he rest in peace, man. He got me up there. Let's see, I started in '96, so I'm gonna say around 2005. I started steering with Rodney. It was on the we was off the Zoe then. We had got the Louisiana Star, and he started letting me steer in the canal. He wouldn't let me do it in the river. He'll let me steer about 5-10 minutes, just in straightaways,
Sure, sure.
just to get the feel of it, And it was nice, man. It was nerve wracking too, but once I figured it out, then I was like, okay, I can pretty much do this. And so each trip he'll let me stay a little longer, a little longer, and a little longer, to the point to where one trip he let me stay up there about 3 hours. He had stepped outside for about an hour or so. But what I didn't know was he was right underneath the wheelhouse the whole time. And just watching me, seeing how I was doing. And he'll come back up and see if I was, messing up or whatever, or give me some pointers and watch for this, watch for the wind, how the whole empties up in the wind. The radar, watching the radar, how close you coming to, meeting people, talking on the radio, stuff like that.
Right. Have you been on the canal your whole career?
Well, let's see. I guess you could say that, because when we was running out east, it was from Mobile to Panama or to Pensacola. So I would pretty much say, yeah, yeah. They used to have a run going up to Port Birmingham. That was on the 10 Tom as well. So yeah, that was nice as well. I was on the Alabama Star and the Warrior Star. So yeah, pretty much. I didn't get on the river until I don't know, about 15 years of my career, and that was just working in the fleet. It wasn't nothing too major until I started. I started tripping over on the line boats, the I guess the Pat C. Davis cert and the FR Bigelow. And I
Okay.
did a couple of trips over there. But other than that, yeah, pretty much my whole career was based on riding in the canals.
What's the craziest thing you've seen out there that comes to mind?
Craziest thing I've seen. Oh, people in kayaks, man. They for some odd reason think it's okay to be in the middle of the river coming down, and it's like, I don't get it, man. And they don't even have radio. Some of them do, but the majority don't. And
Right.
you have to be mindful of that, because we got a license to read the radar. So if anything occurs, we gonna be held responsible. So
Right.
that's, I don't know, man. That's about the craziest thing I've seen so far since I've been out there. People in kayaks coming down the river.
What about in the canal?
In the canal, people on these pleasure crafts got their kids on these inner tubes, and they'll zigzag in front of the tow with their kids in the back. And that just, I don't know, man. It drives me up the wall, because to me, I would think that people would be a little more cautious, when they got their kids on a inner tube riding in
Yeah.
front,
Yeah.
riding in front of all this steel coming at them.
So you're steering here and there when you can. When you get your license, when did you switch over officially in the wheelhouse?
That was, man, that's been, let's see. I had my license 5 years before I even got in the program. And then I renewed them on deck, and then I finally got in there. So I'm gonna say, hell, I can't even remember. It's been that long ago. It's been I would say about, what, 6 years ago. And I started steering on the Woody Doomas with Captain George. Captain George. And I did my first 3 months with Captain George on the Woody Doomas.
Was that in a fleet or where were you running?
Yeah, we was in the fleet in the Mississippi River, just running in triangle fleet. Basically learn how to, they want you to get your light boat skills down. Once you get your light boat skills down, then you get some headlining practice, snatching barges out of in and out of fleets.
Right.
And then, building tows, working line boats, working outside boats, putting barges in and out of tows, how to build them. It's a lot. It's a lot to the fleet. I thought it was just um they did, mediocre work, but it's more than that because they have a lot of stuff that they deal with, ship traffic, line boat traffic, two barge tows traffic. So it's like they deal with a lot of stuff, the elevators going to and from like the sugar docks, up there by the Alcoa plant. So it's a lot of stuff that they do that thought that they didn't do. So yeah, I found that out real quick.
Right. Right. Well, we kind of skipped it. How long or when did you get on with Ingram?
What did Ingram buy Midland? All together, I've been with the company 27 years. So I didn't know the exact merger, but it went from Midland to Keyspan, then from Keyspan to Ingram.
Early 2000s, right? Like 01, 02?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere up in there. Yeah, they had merged. Well, actually bought Keyspan out. Yeah, somewhere up in there.
What's your favorite run to do and why?
My favorite run. Oh man, that would be from Baton Rouge to Houston. That's a good run because it gives everybody time to stretch their legs and get some boat work done and work on learning a little more stuff about the boat and the run itself because we just got on a new boat and it's it gives everybody time, to learn extra stuff and it's extra time. Also, me not going to Houston, it's also a learning curve for me. That way I get to learn a new area. Instead of just being in one area, I get to learn a new area. And the more stuff I know, the better I can be a better asset to England.
Right. How long were you on that salt run?
We was on the salt run for a good little while. Oh man, some years and years. I'm gonna say at least about 5 years, 5 6 years or better. Cause I was on the Charlie C, the Mark C, and the Rita doing that salt run for a good little while. Even when I got in the wheelhouse, we stayed on that salt run. So I'm saying, yeah, about 6 7 years. Yes, it's been a while, man. That's an interesting place to go, especially over there at Weeks. That's an interesting spot right there, bud.
Yeah.
I promise you it is.
What's the hardest part about the job?
The hardest part about working on the tugboat,
Yes, sir.
uh, well, you meet different people, so you're gonna have different attitudes. So you got to try to learn how to read people, and if a situation presents itself, you got to try to be able to de-escalate it right then and there, and try to meet on common grounds, because you're on the boat and everybody on the boat, you got, like I said, you got six, yeah, different personalities. So you got to try to manage all of that and try to make sure that everybody, you on one accord because you got to think that we on a boat. So ain't no just getting off and going and talking to somebody. I got to try to manage all of that plus too keep the boat going. So it's been a challenge, but so far so good. I'm up to the challenge though.
How many guys on the boat with you?
A total of me it'll be 7.
All right. Anything else interesting you'd like to share about your career?
Oh yeah, man. It's what I could tell anybody is that if you don't have a college education, man, this will be me personally just speaking by me just having a high school education, man. It has provided a good lifestyle for me and my family. I would recommend it to anybody. You know, if you don't have a college education, that you could move up through the ranks working on the tugboat. You know, you could go from deckhand to, if you want to be a cook, or if you want to go in the engine room, or even if you wanted to go to the wheelhouse like I did. You know, you could provide really well for your family, and it has been a tremendous employment for me, just due to the fact of, you know, my daughter, she just got a master's in electrical engineering from Alabama A&M.
No
My
kidding.
oldest son, he's in the Navy, and my youngest son, he works for the post office. So it has provided, you know, many avenues for my kids and just for my family, man. And I recommend it to anybody that's, you know, looking for something to try to start a career with. You know, I have no regrets. The only thing about it is just the time away from home and the time away, you know, from the family, because at the end of the day, you can't get that time back. But at the same time, when you do come home, you do have time. You know, that time is yours. It's with your family. It's just whatever you want to do, you know. And once you come home, you at home. That's the best part about it.
Right. Was the wheelhouse always the intention for you?
Oh, to be honest with you, I wanted to go in the engine room, but the more I talked to my captain, Rodney Norris, he kind of convinced me to go on from the engine room to the wheelhouse, and he just threw that curveball for me, and it all worked out for me. So yeah, that was, the wheelhouse wasn't part of the plan, but Rodney talked me into it. It encouraged me to go that way. It wasn't a bad idea at all.
I got you. What does your son do in the Navy? How long's he been in?
He's a corpsman. He's been in since 2010.
Okay. Your other kids still in the Mobile area?
Oh, no. My daughter, she stays in Phoenix, Arizona. The youngest one, he stays in Mobile, and my oldest son, he stays in Florida, Jacksonville. She's stationed in Jacksonville.
Okay. Where's your daughter
Mhm.
working?
She worked General Dynamics.
Okay. How long's she been there?
It's been about a year. She used to work for Lockheed Martin in Houston, Texas,
All right.
building missiles.
And then your youngest son, what does he do for the post office?
He works at the warehouse. He's a mail handler.
Okay. Any college interest for him?
Yeah, actually, he did an online class and he finished that, computer programming. Yep, he finished that. He wrapped that up. So yeah, everybody doing good for themselves, man. I'm proud of all of them.
Well, good for you, man. Good for them. How much
Oh
longer
yeah,
do you have off till you get back on the boat?
I got a couple more weeks, about 3 more weeks to go. I come back January the 5th. I got a little more time at the house with the wife and just, sit back, enjoy the holidays, and just enjoy the festivities.
Roger that. Are y'all 28 and 28 on that boat?
We are 21 and 21. I got off early because my daughter, like I said, she graduated. She got a master's in engineering. So I got off early for that.
Well, like I said, bud, it pretty much burns out my questions here. I do appreciate your time. Anything else you'd like to share?
No, that's it, man. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, bud.
All right then.
Thank you, man.
No problem. Have a good day.